Hey, welcome to this quick analysis video. It's a quick analysis because it was a quick game. I've just come back from the third round of the Canberra Charity Cup, which is a 7-round tournament being put on by the Canberra Chess Club. Each round consists of one game, and the games go for 60 minutes. Well, each player starts with 60 minutes on the clock, and with every move you make, you get another 30 seconds on your clock. Now, the game tonight I won rather quickly. In fact, White resigned after move 11. So let's see how this game went. White started with e4. I played e5. And White continued with knight c3, which is the Vienna game. Now here I had a good think because I had actually played this opponent before in the Vienna game, and we'd played quite a slow positional grind. That game was a 15-minute game with a 10-second increment, and eventually I had a better position than him, much better, but I ultimately ran out of time, so I lost on time after he'd offered me a draw. So this was a rematch in some respects, except now it's a longer game, and I had a lot of time to think, and I decided to play the early bishop c5 move. And I expected he was going to continue his development, wait for me to play something like d6 and then attack the bishop, at which point I was probably going to drop it back and accept giving him the bishop pair, but, have this strong dark square pawn structure compensating for my lack of a dark square bishop and at least enabling me to have some sort of development scheme. But actually, he went for this attack on the bishop immediately. And here I thought for quite a long time, actually. Like I said, we both started with 60 minutes on the clock. But by the time I played this move, I was down to 43 minutes left. So basically what I played was, of course, the sacrifice here on f2. And I'd thought about this a lot. If he takes, that I'm going to play queen h4 check, which is exactly what happened. And I thought his best response here would actually be to play g6. And then after I capture the pawn here, I really didn't know what was going to be his best, but I thought that might be it. In any case, I saw that if he moves this king to either of these squares, then I can take the pawn here with a check and then move on to take the knight. I also actually saw that he can't come to this square because, of course, we're covering that square. And I saw if he comes to any of these two squares, then I'm going to have the ability to provide at least one check and sort of take things from there. If he ends up over here, then I can try and open up the position. I also saw that if he brings the king here and I open the position immediately, then I'd be threatening to bring the bishop here, skewering the king to the queen, ultimately winning the queen. So it was here I started to see some ideas about using, opening the center quickly, attacking his king that can't castle, and using the bishop in the attack. Well, in the end, he played king to e3. I thought about this position also for a little while, before eventually deciding on queen f4 first, check. Noting that if he goes back, then we sort of have those same positions before, where I get to take the pawn with a check, the knight still hangs. And his only other legal move is the move he played, which is king to d3 check. And I saw here now, there is no ability for him to have a discovered attack on my queen because his king is in the way of this pawn. So I felt quite all right there. Now here I thought for a while, and I thought he would probably like to get his queen here and try and get a queen trade in, at which point he's just up, ahead of material. His king's going to be feeling a lot more safe. And I was thinking here a lot of what to do. I considered for a while playing b6 with the idea of having prepared bishop to a6 with check. And when the king moves, maybe I can win this bishop here. I didn't like any of those ideas because ultimately I saw that he would have defenses for all of them. So what I played was actually d5 here. d5, just immediately threatening to, again, take the pawn. And you can see what danger his king is going to be in there. So there's a threat. And I also saw that after this defense of bringing the queen out, which is what he actually did, that I would be able to take with check, forking the queen, forcing a recapture, and then bringing the bishop out, and we have this pin. And I calculated, of course, he can't actually take my queen because, again, he's pinned. So here, well, he had nothing better than to simply take the bishop. But what he did, which by the way is not very good because of course I take back. So at this point, according to the engine, I'm already absolutely slaying this move with the bishop, queen to f3 was the decisive mistake. If he had played the best move here, then I think black, according to the engine, has a minimal advantage, which I would have been very happy with, a minimal advantage in a position that's much more comfortable to play as black. But we had this continuation, and I pinned the queen. At this point, he just brought his knight back, and I did see that I can definitely take the bishop here with check. And I also saw that there might be future possibilities then of taking this pawn and getting some sort of double attack on whichever two pieces are here at the time. But I kind of kept things simple, and I just took his queen. And after he took back with the knight, I developed this knight, knowing that no matter how he attacks my queen, and he went for this option, that I would then be able to castle with check. And this king is going to have to move away, as you can see. When it moves away to either of these squares, he's going to drop the knight. And if he moves the knight to block the check, that doesn't make a difference. I take. This king is in a lot of trouble. I'm already up a lot of material. I'm about to gain more material. And it was in this position, move 12 for white, after my 11th move, that white resigned. So that was a very quick game, and actually quite a decent one, just a sort of takeaway lesson here in the Vienna game. It is very common, I believe, this knight a4 move and trying to get the bishop, but I think you do normally develop first in some other way and wait for d6 before you actually go after that bishop. But the immediate knight a4 does allow this sacrifice, and it is a sound sacrifice, according to the engine. Queen f4 was the correct continuation, as was d5. But like I said, queen f3 was a decisive mistake.